Well, good damn afternoon, Americans. Jericho Green here with you once again. Make sure you check out mygreengear.com. Get cool shit like this and so much more. Well, what the hell, people? You thought we were done, didn't you? You thought they were all done with the patron saint of fentanyl. George Floyd was done. Not quite. And don't think that they're not above exhuming this story, so to speak, whenever they can to squeeze some more nectar from that everything is racist fruit. But this time, this case is in the news because Derek Chauvin, the officer who was convicted of killing George Floyd, never mind all the other things that played into it, all the other substances, but he was convicted on second degree, third degree murder, and voluntary manslaughter. So he got a grand total 22 and a half years in prison. He's serving it at a federal prison in Arizona. So what was it? September of 2021, right after he was convicted, he started his appeals process. And what he's appealing is he wants the conviction to be thrown out because he was not able to have a fair trial. I don't think anybody who's being real with themselves can disagree with that. I would say it was pretty unfair. And there were a lot of things that were said by people who shouldn't have said them. You had, when they were deliberating for the verdict, you had Biden who came out and said, I hope that they come to the right verdict. The right one, meaning one is right, one is wrong. Meaning if the jury were to see him as innocent and not convict him, that would have been wrong. Then you had what's his name? Who's the dude that did Say It Loud? I'm black and I'm proud. The big payback. What's that? Maxine Waters. No. James Brown. That's right. Forgive me, I get them mixed up because they look exactly alike. So you have Maxine Waters out here talking about how they better come up with the right verdict and America is not going to be happy if they don't, and all these other inflammatory statements. Yeah, one of the jurors with questionable things in his past rallies. He's rallies and protests he's attended, some of the things he's posted online. But it's really hard to get a fair trial for anybody when the media and political machine is behind it in one direction. They wanted a conviction, and they would have a conviction of Derek Chauvin. There's no way that he could not be convicted because of all the things that they've said and done. All the kneeling for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. You guys remember that bullshit? That pandering at its worst. That pandering was so bad. That is like getting frozen orange juice and drinking it without adding water. That was pandering concentrated. You had Nancy Pelosi, old as fuck. I'd like to hear the audio from her trying to stand up after kneeling for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. It probably took her another 8 minutes and 46 seconds to stand up. All these old ass Democrats, these leftist fucks wearing kente scarves and kneeling for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. So after all that, all the things they said, all the things they've done, the burning, the looting, the rioting, the beating and the killing, in the summer of 2020, they could not have it go in the opposite direction. They had to get a conviction, and they got it. You had jurors being intimidated. You're holding it in the city where it took place. The family got paid off during the trial. The family won $27 million during the trial. So what does that indicate? What does that imply? That implies that something was done wrong. He was wrongly, his life was taken by the police, and they were wrong, and they shouldn't have killed him, and he didn't do anything wrong. That's what that implies. That implies that the right thing to do is to side with the family. That's what the city did. Couldn't wait. Mayor broke his fucking neck trying to hop on that George Floyd gravy train. He couldn't have got on that train fast enough. But they did. The mayor. And one thing that turned it for me, one thing that made me know, among other things, but this was the death knell, as they say. The current chief of police at that time, a black man, sat there on the witness stand under oath and said, yes, it looks to me like Chauvin was kneeling on his shoulder, because all we got was the one angle. If it bleeds, it leads. We got the one angle where it looked like Chauvin was kneeling on this man's neck for almost 9 minutes, when in fact that wasn't true. There was a view on the body cam from another angle behind Chauvin that shows his knee on George Floyd's shoulder blade. There are no arteries or vital organs in the shoulder blade. I know you thought I was a doctor. You thought I was Dr. Jericho Green, didn't you? But I'm not. I'm not a doctor. But I know that there are no vital organs or arteries in the shoulder blade where this man was kneeling on it. Now, could it have been the drugs that were in his system before the cops showed up? Could it be the drugs that he swallowed while in the back of the patrol car? Jericho, how can you say something like that? You have no proof. Well, then I guess that was a fake picture that I saw of chewed up and spit out drugs in the back of the cop car that he was in. He was saying, I can't breathe, while he was sitting in the back of the patrol car. What did one of the officers do? They didn't roll up the windows and close the door like racist assholes, like boss hogs. What did Biden call them? The bull Connors. They didn't do that. The cop left the window down so he could get air, and he stood outside the window and talked to George Floyd. You know, like a human. You know, he talked to George Floyd. In that few minutes, that cop talked to George Floyd more than his own family did. Those same little crumb-snatching, money-grubbing sons of bitches that came out of the woodwork when when Ben Crump came into town with that winning lottery ticket. Then all these fools come out talking about my cousin, my brother, George Floyd. Really? Did you feel that way about him when you exiled him from the family and let him live in the fucking streets? No, probably not. But we're talking money. We're talking the ghetto lottery ticket. So yeah, we loved him and everything. He was close to us. Yeah, whatever. Where do I sign? So Chauvin is looking to have his conviction overturned. I think it should be. Will it? I don't know. It should be, though. Because there's no way in the world that man could get a fair trial. And let's say, and I know they won't do this, but even if they moved it to another country, do you know how hard the rest of the world, especially the Western world, has bitten down on this George Floyd shit? This shit has gone international. Nancy Pelosi said, "Thank you for dying, George." Hey, bro, thanks for dying. Why? So you could jam through some bullshit, some legislation that means nothing, it's not going to save a life or keep anybody safe? Is that what you meant? Is that why you thanked him for dying? Is that why you paraded him around the country like some kind of fallen fucking idol to 5 funerals in a golden casket? Those weren't funerals, those were tour dates. They turned this man into a fucking martyr. They paraded him around the country. Oh, George, 5,000 people at his funeral. This is one of the world's biggest publicity stunts. This is the world's largest robbery without a fucking gun. So I hope Chauvin does get his sentence overturned. He's already served, 2+ years in jail? And that's bullshit. He shouldn't have been convicted. George Floyd brought that on himself. He killed himself. There's a thing called excited delirium. Happens all the time. Oh, and before I go, everybody's on George Floyd. They knelt on him and they killed him. Those cops just knelt on top of him. And I said, when this shit happened, those are bad optics. The cop, after he was cuffed, the cop should have gotten off of him. Now, whether they're kneeling on his shoulder, his neck, his leg, his hand, I don't care. Once he's cuffed, get off of him. But before I go, there's this guy from Texas, I believe, named Tony Timpa. And he was a young man who was knelt on by the police. They knelt on top of him, and it wasn't on his shoulder blade. It was on his back. They were suffocating him. I can't breathe. I can't breathe. Please get off of me. You know what the cops did? You know what these evil fucking white cops? What? These evil racist white cops, these Texas bad boys, you know what they did to Tony Tippa? They laughed at him. He had mental issues. They made fun of him. When he was unconscious, one of the cops was saying, "Mama, just let me sleep for a few more minutes. I don't want to go to school." This man was unconscious and the cops were making fucking jokes. What if they had audio of Derek Chauvin saying, "Oh, don't wake me up, Mom. Just a few more minutes of sleep," as George Floyd laid there unconscious? What do you think they would have said then? Hold on, guys, a producer. What's up? I'm doing a video, man. I hate when you bug me. Oh, shit, he was? Oh, shit, no wonder. Okay, I'll let him know. Sorry, guys. The reason you ain't ever heard of Tony Tippa is because he's white. If he was black, you'd have his face tattooed on your lower back like a tramp stamp. But since he's white, fuck him. Cops did the same thing, and then some. They teased him and made fun of him as he laid there unconscious and dying. And you don't even know who the fuck I'm talking about. Man, please. You know how it goes. I try to be done with the left, but they just won't let me. Please subscribe. Hit that notification bell because every time it rings, a piece of shit lefty cries. Utilize the Linktree link. Get your ass over to JerichoGreen.net and MyGreenGear.com. I am Jericho Green. Man, I'm out.